In a quiet town where ambition rarely blossomed, a teenager named Liam found himself sinking deeper into despair. His once promising grades had dropped, and the future he once dreamed of now felt like a fading shadow. One evening, long after the final school bell had rung, Liam sat alone in detention, staring blankly at his open notebook. The silence around him was heavy, echoing the emptiness he felt inside. As he sat there, lost in thought, the rhythmic sound of a mop moving across the floor broke the stillness. Mr. Ray, the school's elderly janitor, was quietly going about his work. He had seen countless students come and go, but something about Liam's posture, the slumped shoulders, the vacant eyes, made him pause. Without saying a word, Mr. Ray walked over and gently placed a sandwich and a bottle of water next to the boy. Liam looked up, confused and caught off guard. He expected scolding or at least a lecture. Instead, Mr. Ray offered something much more powerful: compassion. With a warm, steady voice, he said, "Even the brightest stars need the dark to shine." It was a simple sentence, but it hit Liam like a wave. There was no judgment, just understanding. In that moment, something shifted. Mr. Ray's quiet act of kindness became a spark, not loud or dramatic, but enough to stir something inside Liam. It wasn't about the sandwich or the words alone, it was the feeling of being seen when he felt invisible. Sometimes, the first step toward success doesn't come from a teacher, a test score, or a goal. It comes from someone who believes in you, without needing anything in return. That evening, a janitor planted a seed of hope that would quietly begin to grow. As the days passed, detention ended, but Liam kept returning. Not out of obligation, but from a quiet pull he couldn't explain. Every afternoon, when the last bell echoed down the empty hallways, he stayed behind, not for punishment, but for purpose. He found himself drawn to Mr. Ray, the janitor with weathered hands and a voice full of stories. Together, they cleaned classrooms, swept gym floors, and emptied trash cans. But in between those tasks, something far more meaningful was unfolding. Mr. Ray would talk as he worked, not about cleaning, but about life. He spoke of choices made, dreams paused, and love that demanded sacrifice. Liam learned that Mr. Ray once had a scholarship to a university. He had dreamed of becoming a teacher, of standing in front of a classroom and guiding young minds. But when his mother fell gravely ill, he made a decision: to stay, to care, to serve. College was left behind, but he never complained. He simply found other ways to give. Liam listened more than he spoke. He began to see that success wasn't always found in trophies or titles. It could live quietly in a person like Mr. Ray, who worked without recognition, who gave without needing thanks. One afternoon, as Liam reached for a broom, Mr. Ray smiled and handed it to him. "Success isn't always applause," he said, gently. "Sometimes, it's doing the right thing when no one's watching." That sentence sank deep into Liam's heart. In the echo of an empty hallway, he found more wisdom than any classroom had ever given. And as the dust was swept away, so too were the doubts clouding his path forward. He was starting to understand that greatness often begins with grace, and the courage to keep going quietly. Liam had worked harder than ever before. Fueled by late nights of studying and quiet afternoons sweeping floors with Mr. Ray, he had dared to believe again, dared to dream of college, of becoming someone who could make a difference. He poured his heart into his scholarship application, hoping it would be the key to a future he once thought was out of reach. But the letter came like a storm. The scholarship had gone to someone else. Sitting in the principal's office, holding the rejection in trembling hands, Liam felt the familiar weight of disappointment press down on him. His heart sank. All the effort, the hope, the change, was it all for nothing? That evening, the hallway lights flickered as Liam sat alone near the janitor's closet. Mr. Ray found him there, silent and broken. He didn't say much, just quietly handed Liam a sealed envelope. "I never used it," Mr. Ray said, his voice low. "Thought you might need it more." Inside was something Liam never expected, a college fund. Not much by most standards, but enough to get him started. Saved from years of cleaning, from small sacrifices, from a man who had once shelved his own dreams. Liam's eyes filled with tears. He tried to give it back. "I can't take this, Mr. Ray. You earned it." But Mr. Ray simply placed a hand on his shoulder. "You reminded me what dreams look like," he whispered. "Let me remember mine through you." In that moment, Liam understood that success wasn't just about personal victory. It was about legacy, about passing the torch, about believing in someone enough to lift them higher than you ever reached. Mr. Ray hadn't lost his dream. He had just passed it on, to someone who needed it most. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation. Families clutched cameras, students fidgeted in their caps and gowns, and proud teachers sat in the front row, waiting for the final speech of the night. But when Liam walked to the podium, confident, composed, and far from the lost boy he once was, the room grew still. He looked out at the crowd, then down at the speech he had written. Slowly, he folded the paper and set it aside. "I was supposed to talk about hard work, goals, and success," he began. "But what I really want to talk about is a man most of you never noticed." He paused, his eyes scanning the back of the room, where Mr. Ray stood quietly by the door, mop in hand, just like every other day. He wasn't a teacher, a coach, or a counselor. He was the janitor. But when I had nothing to give, he gave. When I had no direction, he showed me a path, not by telling me, but by walking beside me. Liam's voice trembled, but he stood tall. He saw my worth when I couldn't. He gave when he had nothing. That's the kind of success I want to chase, the kind that lifts others up. The auditorium held its breath. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, like a wave, the crowd rose to their feet, first slowly, then with thunderous applause. Tears shimmered in more eyes than just Mr. Ray's. In that moment, a janitor became a hero. And a young man stepped fully into his purpose, not just with honors or medals, but with gratitude, humility, and the understanding that true success isn't what you earn. It's what you give away. 10 years had passed since that graduation night, but the memory of Mr. Ray's quiet wisdom had never faded. Now, in a small community school tucked between city streets and everyday struggles, a new teacher unlocked the door to his very first classroom. The walls were bare, the desks mismatched, but to him, it was perfect. His nameplate on the door read, Mr. Liam Ray Walker, a tribute to the man who had shaped his journey, not just in name, but in spirit. On his desk sat something far more meaningful than any diploma or degree, a worn-out mop handle, carefully preserved in a glass frame. Beneath it, a plaque read, "To the man who showed me that success is not what you take, but what you give." Students began filing in, buzzing with first-day nerves and curiosity. Mr. Walker stood at the front, calm and smiling, watching them settle. He could see himself in a few of their faces, tired eyes, hidden struggles, unspoken dreams. And he knew exactly where to begin. "Before we dive into lessons," he said warmly, "I want to tell you a story. It's not in any textbook, but it changed my life." And so, he began, about a janitor who never wore a suit, never stood on a stage, but who gave more than most ever could. A man who swept more than floors, he swept away doubt, fear, and hopelessness, all with simple kindness. That day, Mr. Walker didn't just teach his students about math or literature. He taught them about humanity, legacy, and the kind of success that echoes far beyond a paycheck or applause. And in that classroom, with a mop handle framed like a trophy, a new generation of dreams quietly took root. The story of The Secret to Success is not one of fame, fortune, or accolades, but of quiet compassion, selfless sacrifice, and the power of believing in someone when they've forgotten how to believe in themselves. Through the gentle guidance of Mr. Ray, a humble janitor with a heart full of wisdom, Liam transformed from a hopeless teenager into a young man with purpose. Each moment they shared, sweeping hallways, exchanging stories, lifting each other in silence, became a building block of a life reshaped. When Liam stood at graduation and honored the man behind the mop, he proved that true success is not measured by how high you rise, but by how many you lift on your way up. And years later, when he walked into his own classroom, nameplate shining and mop handle framed in glass, Liam didn't just become a teacher, he became a continuation of a legacy. A reminder that sometimes the greatest teachers are the ones the world overlooks. The secret to success? It's kindness when no one's watching. It's giving even when you have little. It's seeing the light in someone else, especially when they can't see it themselves. Because in the end, success isn't about what you achieve. It's about what you inspire in others.